We're back in session, and we're getting ready for our next presentation. We have H&H Architecture here to present to us. Previously, what we're doing, we were introducing ourselves, but since your whole team has already been up here and introduced yourselves to each one of us, we'll skip that part, and we'll just move right on to the presentation. But let me tell you the way we're going to do this thing. We're going to listen to all the presentations of your presentation, and at the end we'll ask questions. We will be scoring individually each presentation, and we'll give all that information to Ms. Woods as you compile it, and that'll be the selection of the firm based on the scoring. So I just wanted you to know how it worked. So yes. It's all yours.
Thank you so much for letting us come. I'm starting my timer so I don't mess up, but I told them they can kick me if I go too long. I am Kristen Hess with HH Architecture, and we are so glad to be here. We've got a full team, which we'll introduce in a minute, but thank y'all for this opportunity. It's really, really special. We are super excited about your project, and I think the thing that struck me the most is how many different people this project is going to touch. It's not just a Wayne County project. It is a regional project. It is a state project. It is going to mean everything, not just for this county, but for beyond. And when I read about the mission of these folks, some of your local partners, in terms of enhancing rural communities, bringing up markets, helping with health, wellness, agriculture is everything. I mean, it's our lives. So I just really am excited to learn all about you and your partners, and it would just mean so much. This is our team. We have HH Architecture's full-service architecture and interiors firm. I think I'm supposed to stay by the mic, sorry. And we're located in Raleigh. And then we're 11 people, and we've been in business 9 years. So that's a little bit about us. And Siler Ransmeyer here would be involved on the project, Caroline Davenport. And then we've got Derek with Site Solutions, Civil and Landscape, and Anna Lynch with Stroud, Pence, Derek Ham with EnTech Engineering. So we've got our whole team here today. And what you should know about this team is we've all worked together repeatedly in the past. So you're not a guinea pig on this project. We've all worked locally together. So we feel real comfortable and confident that we can deliver a great, seamless, smooth project for you because we've worked out all the kinks. I mean, I've been working with these folks my whole career. So I feel very comfortable with this team. I can vouch for this team. Derek, why don't you come share about your company?
Sure. Hey, good morning. EnTech Engineering is local. Obviously, we've been doing PM&E design for almost 20 years. I've been in business for 19. I've been there for 7. So we've got a lot of experience. Got some construction background. Our president was in construction before he came to design. And love to focus on energy and new innovation. That said, we've done several lead projects through the years, and we've actually got a platinum under us. But that said, we always like to look at how money's spent. It's not always best to take a solution just because it might save energy, because you do life cycle cost analysis and it just don't pay for itself. So we're always money conscious, and I know y'all are as well. But that's our experience is, I'd say, pretty wide range. We do anything from little design build projects. I do military work to municipalities, colleges, university work. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Anna Lynch with Stroud, Pence. We would be the structural engineers on the project. We've been in business for 40 years. I am the principal in charge for the North Carolina office, which is located in Raleigh. We've worked in Wayne County for 20 years, currently working on the renovations and additions to your K through 12 schools. And our focus is also, efficiency and innovativeness. And you guys want a creative, unique, comfortable building, and I really believe that we have the background to provide that for you with all of our years of experience. Right?
Thanks, Anna.
Mm-hmm.
Derek?
And I'm Derek Williams with Site Solutions. We will be the landscape architects and civil engineers, and we're based out of Charlotte. And I'm sorry we're a little bit away from you, but if you look at the map on the screen, We do work all over North Carolina. The green counties are counties that we have worked in or are working in. We're currently working in Nash County, Halifax County, and Pitt County right now. We have previously worked with the town of Goldsboro, or city of Goldsboro, both with their Parks and Recreation Department and their travel and tourism. So we are very familiar with eastern North Carolina, and I grew up in Wilson, so I'm very familiar with Goldsboro. We are 30 years old, or 29 years old. We'll celebrate our anniversary next year, and we won numerous design awards, including in 2009 we were named the Outstanding Landscape Architectural Firm in North Carolina by NCASLA. And we look forward to working with you.
And Derek's firm is very budget conscious. He always is challenging me to make sure that, that seems ludicrous. We need to look at that again and be sure.
That the building doesn't take up all of the budget.
The budget? But it's true. I think he does more projects east than he does west. He's always down here east. So anyway. Now, HH Architecture. We are a firm of enthusiasm. Okay? Every project we do is the best project that we have ever done, and I am not kidding. I love my clients and I love my projects, and you will have my complete attention on this project. I am the principal, I am the founder, and I'm not going to let anything not get the attention it deserves. So I just want you to feel reassured that you're going to have this company's full attention from the top. I'm very proud of my team. I have great people. Seiler has just done a tremendous amount of great design work and construction administration work. He's very detail oriented. He's very strong on making sure that what is getting built is what was designed, and sometimes that's difficult, and he's okay with taking that hard stance. And Caroline, the interior designer, really works on space and functionality and also the beautiful side of the building. So we have a really great blend in our team. And you can see various ways that we are working here in these pictures. We're very proud of this award. We were given this award at the State Construction Conference several years ago for our work at the State Fairgrounds on the Governor Martin Building. We were nominated and awarded this award by our client. We did not know about this in advance. We were surprised and honored. And there we are as a whole team standing there with Commissioner Troxler, and that was an outstanding project. It had to be done within budget, of course, to state construction standards, and it had to be designed and constructed in under 11 months. And I know that sounds like a long time for maybe a private job or something like that, but with the state, that is a tough thing, and the fair was coming, and we got it done, dadgummit, and it was a challenge, but we got it done, and we're real proud of it. So I always go there and use the bathroom. You should too. There's 60 potties in that bathroom. But that segues into the little potty humor never hurts. That segues into our agriculture experience. And I just want to say that I'm real proud to have worked with the Department of Ag. I'm real proud to have worked with cows at NC State. And now we're just starting to work with USDA. The Forestry Service at the federal level has contracted with us to do a brand new programming and advanced planning study for a new facility in RTP. Basically, their function there is in the location where that new master plan is going, and they're kind of ground zero. They need to relocate. And so we are working with them on their plant sciences and in their labs and understanding what they do so we can help design for them for the future. So that's been really exciting.
And I just wanted to say that we have a lot of agriculture experience, and we don't presume to know what you guys know. And every agency is different. Every agency has got their experts, and we just are excited by every opportunity to learn from you.
That's right. That's right. You're the biggest design partner we have. I want to show you some examples of projects. I think this project has a great opportunity to be a gateway project for you. This is going to be a signature project for this county and for this region and for our state. And I have a lot of experience designing signature buildings or structures that are special in their nature. Not everything about the project has got to be screaming for attention, but the front door or the signature piece of it, whatever we decide that is, we ought to make that special, and we ought to celebrate that. So that's what we're going to be looking at. Not everything, but something, okay? And then just so you know, we have Wayne County experience. We have worked here, just like Derek said, with Parks and Rec, with the city, also with some private industry and at the base. We've been doing a lot of work at the base lately. So, and they're requiring us to do our work on base. So we're actually physically disconnecting our computers, driving down and working on base. So that's been a real new experience, but it's working okay. So we met the deadline. Whew. So, training and technology. You're going to have a real public focus on this building. Everybody is coming to you looking for help, looking for guidance, needing training, whatever it is. And so the public interface and how you educate folks and how you bring them in and make them feel comfortable is going to be real important. And technology is a big part of that. Now, Marcia was telling me y'all just redid the technology in this room, which is fabulous. And we've got a lot of experience doing that too. Bringing a lot of really high-end 3D projection and technology into training rooms for places like Fayetteville Tech or NC State University. So we feel real confident with that. Okay? And then conference space. Conference space needs to be flexible, okay? It's a quick change market. And those who work in the fair and the conference world, I mean, they understand that one day it's tractors and the next day it's, 4-H and the next day it's highfalutin and somebody's getting married. So you have to be prepared for whatever comes. You need great load-in, load-out space. You need great functionality and flow. You need great ability to change the room quickly. The room on the right is the same room, just set up two different ways, and you need to be able to do that with your building. Also, great office space for all your agencies, great breakout space, big volumes of people, being able to accommodate for that. And I'll just brag on EnTech in terms of designing, I'll back up, designing for spaces that have high volumes of people but then go down to nothing. I mean, it's kind of these heavy HVAC loads, and you've got to have somebody who really knows how to design for that. EnTech's good at that. And then outdoor spaces. I mean, we have a wonderful site, and that's what we're going to spend the latter half of this presentation on, is how do we capitalize on this gorgeous piece of property that y'all have. And so whether we're building patios or plazas or courtyards adjacent to the building, or whether we're going out into the landscape and doing something a little more special, a little more outdoor classroom education focus, we can really make that site shine. And Derek's just got such a beautiful portfolio of projects for that. I think one of the biggest challenges, I don't know if you're going to ask me what one of the biggest challenges are, but one of the biggest challenges that I think this project's going to see is stakeholder buy-in. You have so many partners with so many agendas and so many things, and are you going to take care of me? And this is what's important to me, whether it be the budget or the space or the functionality or what have you, the timeline, the schedule. Getting your partners together is going to be important, and we facilitate that all the time because we've done over 80 public projects in my career as HH. We've done over 80 projects in under 9 years. So what I can tell you is at the state fairgrounds, we did a 15-month-long master plan, and there were so many community partners and stakeholders, and they were all very nervous, like, what are they doing? And so we brought them to the big room and put them in round tables, and we staged our people with them and made sure that they felt comfortable and gave them the information and gave them the buy-in that they needed. And then we came back with a second round and then a media day. So there were several of those. There's Greg Driver sitting there, the head of the state construction office. He came. That was a really great help. If you need fundraising, if you need brochures to sell this or to even just communicate this to the public or to your strategic partners, we have experience with this. The top picture is a sketch that we did for Commissioner Troxler to try to help give some visualization tool to his Ag Museum vision. He had a favorite barn that he wanted me to go see and wanted it to look like that, and so we helped him with that. And the lower one is a master plan brochure that after the master plan was done, we needed to somehow memorialize it and communicate it as a communications piece and a marketing piece. So we can do that as well. And that leads into visualization. We can help you see your vision very early on. We have this great software called Revit. It's a BIM software which is for building information modeling. And we can, right out of the gate, as soon as we begin to model your project, we can show you very, very early 3D models. This actually is a tool that we use to inform us. Should it be this tall or should it be this tall? Should it be this wide or should it be this long? Should it be this or that? How does that space feel? How is that flow going to work? It also helps with coordination. The bottom right picture is a structural architectural interface model with our Revit software where we're actually coordinating and making sure we don't have conflicts. And that's something we do with the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing and the structural all combined so that you don't run into all those problems in the building where, this doesn't go through that. So
I mean, I was just going to reiterate, I mean, on a project that I worked with Anna, she called me up one day and I just uploaded my model and she was like, well, something highlighted red, you know, we've got one issue, and it was easy just like that to swap it out, and not before it got too far along.
Construction, right, or in construction. And then also the little pair of pictures shows you, the top ones are renderings that we did. The bottom ones are actual pictures of the space. So if you want to see that you can actually see what your space is going to be, you know, 14 months in advance or 2 years in advance, and show people that and get them excited, that's what you can do. Now, Derek touched on sustainability and LEED, and we have a lot of sustainable projects. I put my money where my mouth was, and I did my own building sustainable because I felt like if I was asking my clients to do it, I better know. And I'll tell you, when I did my own building, you know what I did every 5 minutes? How much is that going to cost? How much is that going to cost? And I realized how it feels, what I put my clients through every time I come to them and say, what do you think about this neat idea? Or we actually have this little issue. It gave me a real change in perspective and a sense of respect. And it's also not your primary day job. I mean, I was trying to take care of my clients and trying to take care of my own building. What do you think suffered? I'm like working on my own building at night. So I just think it's important that you know that somebody is thinking about your project as if they were in the hot seat with the purse strings. I know how that feels, and it was hard. So I will be very sensitive about your budget, and I will be very interested in making sure that if we implement these strategies, they will make common sense, they will save you money in the long haul, and you will be a part of that decision, period. Okay? Derek, I'll let you touch on a few more if you want to.
Sure. Just real quick, y'all notice the pictures of the building. That's the SAS Conference Center we did, and actually used a lot of these different systems in that building. A lot of unique things that had radiant floor heating on the upper floors. They did solar hot water, rainwater reclaim, a lot of what you see, and that was a LEED project. Also, it was in the Iron Man movies. But, you know, just show you the experience we have in all these different systems. And, of course, every system doesn't fit every building. And just like Kristen said, you know, life cycle cost analysis and money, does it really make sense to pay for that system? Is it going to pay for itself in the road, you know, ahead? But just to give you an idea of all the different systems we do have experience in.
Very sophisticated firm. Yep.
Same kind of points as far as considering other, you know, any kind of energy saving systems that we have or can use for a building. We do use pretty sophisticated software from Carrier, and we have used government software to analyze building energy modeling. You've got to use a lot of that stuff, you know, for LEED. But you know, we'll meet with the owners and get their input, and like Kristen said, a lot of times you have a building that has a huge influx of people, and then you've got rooms that might sit for days empty, and that is a big mechanical challenge, you know, to keep humidity out of a room when it's not loaded versus, you know, when you've got a lot of people and being careful it can still handle the people load. So just comfort, function, I mean, there's a lot of that goes into a building that, you know, once it's covered up, no one seems to think about unless it doesn't work. But so we have the experience, and like I said, we've been in business for 20 years.
Thanks, Derek. All right, Anna, talk about how you'll approach their building.
All right, I'm going to start off with saying I'm from Iowa. I grew up on a farm. My family's been in farming generation after generation. Now, I do live in Raleigh and I do live downtown, but I'm just trying something different. And 18 years of my life was spent hauling water to the barn, in the fields, baling hay, and, you know, I understand agriculture. And I grew up in 4-H, but, you know, structure, I'm going to make the building stand up. Don't ever worry about that. You know, I've been doing this for 12 years and nothing's happened. But, you know, with a unique building and a comfortable building is what you guys are looking for. I was thinking, you know, this screams wood, local wood products. It exists. I'm doing a project right now in Greenville, and we're using a local wood supplier, and that limits your sizes of wood and types of wood. And basically, we work with the designer, Kristen and Seiler, to make sure that we're providing you with the most efficient structural system, but also, sometimes we get to do something fun and really show the structure off. And I hope that this is a project that we can do that with, because it can be really, really great.
So some people say I have the fun stuff, but what we really start with when we start with interiors is functionality. This has a lot of different departments, a lot of different stakeholders, a lot of different uses, especially in the assembly spaces and the flexible spaces. So we wanted to keep it maintain the flexibility, but also listen to all those departments and see what their functionality is. Sometimes they can share spaces, sometimes they can't. It's really important to actually listen to those stakeholders and understand their processes and understand their business before you move forward. So that was where we start with interiors, and then we move on to the welcoming aesthetics. So of course we want people to walk into the space and want to be there, want to stay there, and if they're also from Wayne County, to come and show people it. It's always nice to design a building that people are proud of, and that's what we're looking for at HH.
Okay, construction delivery. This is the slide that I probably struggled the most with how to approach for your project, and I've decided that what I want to say to you is I have done these delivery methods, and I am comfortable with them, any of them, and I guess I'm not sure which way you'll take this project. Noelle and I talked just a little bit about it. But I think what we want to say to you is we're going to give you a great set of documents. We're going to design you a great building and give you a great set of documents. How you choose your contractor, how you choose to bid it or get pricing or bring in a partner or whatever you do, we can work with it. Simple as that. I really don't know enough about you. What's going on? It's like a...
My HVAC was rattling, and I asked him to look at it.
somebody crawling around up there.
So they don't come to the scene now.
Hopefully they won't fall through the ceiling.
I know. Wouldn't that be exciting?
Who designed this building?
So I think that, you should just know that you're in good hands from a design perspective. And whatever, whether you want to hard bid this thing, whether you want to we would recommend pre-qualification, certainly. We have done design build. We understand sometimes that's important. But I don't know yet what's important to you, so I can't advise you yet. If that sounds like a politician's way of getting out of something, it might be. But what I'm trying to say is I can give you a great set of documents, and we can work however you want. That's the bottom line. So hopefully we'll just be hired to be an architect.
And then I was just going to say briefly that I'm going to mention that whatever method you choose, we'll provide great construction administration services. And one of the great things that I love about HH Architecture is that when you get to work on a project, you get to see it all the way through CA.
That's right.
And so if I'm working on it, I'll know every piece of that building, and then I'll be out in the field checking up on that. And I'll be able to talk to the contractor about what makes sense in every situation.
That's right. There's no handoff. So there's a lot of times where there is that handoff to a CA person, and they don't know what the early decisions were. And so when there are changes in the field, and there will be changes in the field, the important thing is to know what was the intent. Why did we do it that way? So we don't lose that in the construction process. And I think we've touched on this all along, but I want to really drive it home, and that is that we're going to watch the dollars. I mean, we really need to be conscientious and fiscally responsible. This project is county led. I know you're going to have a lot of folks trying to help you with it, but we're going to have to be, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny, quite frankly. And so we need to be looking at, like he said, life cycle costs, but we need to be looking at options for you right from the start. What makes the most sense? And sometimes those big decisions right out of the gate, where it sits on the site, how it's oriented, those types of things have some of the biggest impacts. So really right from the beginning. Everybody wants to blame the interior designer for the cost, but really I don't think it's that. I think it really has to do with how the building is placed.
Particularly on this site.
Particularly on this site, that's right. So any good architect, we were all trained this way, would start with precedent, okay? What has come before us? What does it mean to be in Goldsboro, North Carolina? What does it mean to be in Wayne County? What does it mean to be in North Carolina, period, or in this region? And what does it mean to be about agriculture? All about agriculture. And so we will begin, this is just a snippet of what the process would be like when we work with you, if we're fortunate enough to work with you, where we sort of begin to draw images. We might even ask you to share any favorite images that you have so that you can, just like Commissioner Troxler, go see my favorite barn, you know? You need to see what that looks like. So if you can bring to us what your vision is, we want to design and partner with you, truly. But we're going to bring images as well, and we're going to sort of show you and gut check you. Do you like this? Do you like that? I mean, because a picture's worth 1,000 words. Here's where you currently are. We've been and visited your current facility, and boy, it's a workhorse. This place has done a lot for a lot of years, and it's a little tired, but it's, you know, it's served its function, and it's got a lot of exterior entrances and a lot of public. The place was booming. We came in the middle of the week. The parking lot was full, people walking in and out. I mean, this thing is serving a really important function in your community, period. And so we want to further that mission, of course, and strengthen it. We're getting out of town a little bit, just going, I don't know, 4 miles up the road, something like that. We've been both places, obviously. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about your site. So Derek, come on up. Here's your site. Here's where we are. Of course, O'Berry is across the street, low-density, one-story buildings. And then Cherry Farm is really kind of where we're thinking. Is that correct, where you want to put it?
Yes.
So, okay.
Yay, we got the right site.
Oh, good. We're talking about the right piece project.
And it is truly a beautiful rural landscape. How applicable that this would be a site that you would pick. It's got those nice trees along Old Smithville Road. It sits up high. You get great vistas across, out across the rural landscape. The zoning is set up, for it. It's zoned O and I2, and we can build what we need to build there. There are going to be parking requirements and landscape requirements and all that, but none of those will be major deals. We believe there probably will be some improvements that will need to be made to Old Smithville Road, because with the number of parking spaces you're putting in there, there's probably going to be some left turn, right turn lanes and stuff like that. We talked briefly with NCDOT, but more to come on that. Water and sewer is at the site, so that's sometimes you get sites and they don't have that. Where's my little clicker? Yeah. We did a little site analysis. There's always some things about sites that are interesting and sometimes drive what you do on a site. In this case, that red represents gradients that are greater than 10%. And what you've got, and you know it if you've seen the site, and I'm sure you all have, you've got a plateau up along Old Smithville Road, and then it drops off pretty severely down to the floodplain. And so working around those grades, we think is going to be very important. Your planning document that was previously done recognized that, because they gave you 2 options where you might step the building. I think part of what going back to cost, is one of the things that we want to do in more detail will be look at those different options, and Kristen's going to show you some different options. But it does make sense to do a step building, maybe, but I think there's more exploration in terms of what's the cost of the retaining walls and stuff that you put into the building versus grading and things like that. So the grades are going to be an important thing on this site. The other thing that's interesting is when you get down to the lower part of the site, there's 5 soil types on this site, and the first 3 soils, and I won't go through them all, but the first 3 soils are on the upper side, and they're good soils. But when you get to the lower part of the site, the soils get kind of bad. So we're going to be wanting to try to confine our stuff up on the higher part of the site, obviously. Stormwater will be an issue in that there will be stormwater quality requirements, and we want to make sure we have space on the site to do that. And I think also, because of the nature of the building that you're building, we would want to be good stewards, and particularly, certainly if you go to LEED, we're going to be really wanting to make sure that we handle that stormwater and treat that stormwater before it runs off site.
Well, it's part of their mission regardless.
So we think you've got a great site. We'd love to get into more detail on this site and help you work through the different options that you might have, and Kristen's going to show you some really cool building things next.
Thanks, Derek. Did you want to touch on solar?
I was just going to say briefly, when we first got a chance to look at this site, and I was talking to Derek, and I just thought, this is just like something out of a school textbook. I mean, if you were going to choose a site to have it oriented this way with the south-facing slope, it sort of wants the building to be a certain way, long, south-facing, good solar orientation. So basically all the schemes we're going to show will have that sort of in the back of its mind.
Yeah, we really want to maximize north and south orientation and minimize the harsh sun or energy that would come in from east and west, because then you're just exacerbating your requirements for heating and cooling. So, well, we went out and we spent time and we loved it. We loved the site, which is so beautiful. And we want to get this building nestled in the site and celebrate the site and connect with it. So I think this is just such a special place. That's kind of the high ground, and then these are pictures down from the lower ground. And you kind of already saw some of the, you got the drainage and you got the topography and you got things that you're going to be considering, of course, but the views, the vistas are amazing. So what we've done, and we mean no disrespect by doing this, we only want to show energy and enthusiasm. We've come up with a couple of ideas. Okay? This is not to say that we're not going to come up with all brand new ideas when we get to start with you, because we know you're going to have great ideas. But we just want you to know that we couldn't help ourselves. We had to get on here and kind of monkey and tinker with it a little bit. And we just are so excited. So we'll start with a concept that, from a form standpoint, really leans strongly on the heavy agriculture vernacular. It's really a barn-inspired scheme. Again, it is a bar scheme that takes advantage of north and south, and then it's single level. This is, because the planning study kind of showed the pros and cons of single and double, and we'll talk about that too. Courtyard opportunities, bringing light and nature and land into the building, so kind of wrapping yourself around courtyard opportunities, breakout spaces, if you will, bringing light deep into the building, so forth and so on. So you can kind of see the arrangement. The big volume would be the sort of large assembly, and then the smaller bars, if you will, would be more of the agencies and so forth. And everything would be connected along a long spine. Okay? So we call this one the Courtyard North because the courtyards face north. And this is sort of tucked up at the road. And if you look at it in site plan, the next slide, you can see where it kind of sits on the site. It's up kind of close to the road. The parking's held tight to the road, minimal grading impacts, if you will. We've separated, large assembly, public function, conference parking from sort of staff parking, 2 entries. And then we've left the back open and beautiful and natural so that you begin to wind your way down a path to some of the other outbuildings and pavilions and outdoor classrooms on the site. So this is the courtyard scheme, north. Now, very similar in concept in terms of the site is Courtyard South. This says, okay, well, if we're going to be outside and we're going to be in courtyards, maybe we want to be on the back side of the property so we're looking out over the beautiful view of the farm. And just for fun, and I don't know whether this will offend anybody, but we did an abstract version where we sort of said, okay, it's not going to look just like a barn, but we're going to sort of abstract the barn and sort of place it on the facade. So it's a more conventional building that sort of still has some barn inspiration to it. A little bit of a modern flair, a little funky, but could be fun. Again, single level, and could be a very economic scheme. Now, there it is on the site. It's just like we flipped it, basically. Courtyards on the north, courtyards on the south, parking's still similar and all that good stuff. Okay, concept 3, axial. This is where we want to create an axis. We really want to say, okay, when we come in, we want a direct connection right back to the outside. How are we going to strengthen that view, strengthen that connection? And so we sort of put a center spine on it, and then the wings go off to either side. I should have mentioned that all of these have expandable capabilities because you can just extrude this building. So when you need to grow this building, you can just expand down the line. Okay, and that was on purpose. And the spine could take the shape of a folded plane and be very modern and very sculptural, if you will, or it could take a more vernacular, more traditional approach in its form. And of course, there's a million other forms it could be. But we just wanted to show you just some signature ideas of how that axis could be connected on the site. And then, of course, you'd have big public function on one side and staff offices on the other. And this is a multi-level. Did you want to say that?
I was just going to make sure we mentioned that this was the multi-level scheme, and so the footprint is much more reduced. We tried to make the perimeter also much more reduced, so this could be a compact footprint.
Yeah, anytime you can reduce the amount of skin on your building, you're reducing cost. Okay? Now, you do have extra cost for elevators and stairs, but it does not offset I think with the topography you have, it might be a good idea, like the study said, to kind of look at that two-story. And we would crunch all those numbers for you and show you those options, so you would have confidence in what you're choosing. It's fun to play right now without having to worry about that quite yet. But again, now here's the compact footprint. Now you begin to put the parking stills at either side. We did bring some parking around the back, but because it's so low on the site, you're really going to look right over it. And we can plant it and buffer it, and that could be staff parking, and that could still be a beautiful vista. And it still keeps that building up on the high ground, so it's prominent and all that good stuff. And then we have the angled scheme. Now this is where your site is east-west orientation, which is great, but it's not totally true. It's 15 degrees off. So within this scheme, we began to take that angle and give you a perfectly true north-south orientation for your building, which gives you optimal energy and lighting performance. And what we said is we can do this angle in such a way that it does multiple things for you. It gains you that solar orientation, but it also frames the view. And so you're going to need service, you're going to need functionality in this building. And so if we can bring the service down low and load in all the quick change equipment and all the things that are going to need to be a part of a conference center down low, but we don't want to look at service. We want to look at beautiful view. So we've sort of done this to the building and pulled it out so that you are really embracing the site and you are screening some of your less desirable things.
If I can interrupt you. So it looks like then you're splitting the functions too.
Yes, sir.
The conference center will be on this side and the class centers and offices on this side.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, great point. Thank you. And then the lobby connector piece becomes the jewel. It becomes the signature, come in, pre-function space, get oriented. But really, when you come in, you are in a two-story volume that is maximizing the view of that site. And you're understanding the orientation of the building, but you're also immediately connected with the outdoors. Okay? So here it looks like on the plan. Again, this could be any number of ways, but just for the way we showed it today, you have, your drop off at the front, your separated parking, your service down below, and this is the celebrated opportunity, both angle view, vista, interaction with the site. You could come out down low on grade and have a beautiful plaza and all that great stuff. And so, in closing, what I would like to say is that as important as I think buildings ought to be, as excited as we get about architecture, what's really important is community and agriculture. And so what we ought to do is not try to make this our agenda and how we make this building, the latest, greatest, most amazing thing. We ought to make it a wonderful building, but we ought to have it connect back to the farm. And so we leave you with this image in hopes that you understand that we're going to be very respectful of how we treat this property, and we're going to be very interested in helping to connect all of its users every day to the landscape. So with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Questions, gentlemen?
I'd like to take a minute of the committee's time and share a story of
Oh, Lord.
that Commissioner Troxler's favorite dairy barn that Kristen mentioned a couple of times. When he told her to go look at it, he told me to find a helicopter that was large enough to pick it up and bring it from Yadkin County to Raleigh if the owner was willing to donate it to the state fair.
Well, I want to expand on the fundraising part again. That's
Yes,
what I'm-
sir.
And I need, so, can you tell us a little more about what's involved in all that?
Well,
What-
sure.
What will you do and what would we do?
Sure. Well, of course, we can do anything you need us to do. We are not professional fundraisers. What I would say is what we can do is give you all the beautiful tools that you need, and we can help you with the brochure, too. We would not be a market research firm. We would not be, able to help you target members and so forth. We wouldn't be fundraisers actually making the calls, that type of thing. But we would be giving you the tools that you need the data on the building, the cost, the energy savings, the floor plans, the imagery, everything to sell that building. We can help you gather all that up, and we can help you package it if you want us to, or you can have a graphic designer in-house put that piece together, however you wish to do it. But that's how we've worked in the past with folks, is just giving them the tools they need to go and get the funds, because a lot of times donors cannot visualize what you're talking about, and they need to see something. And if you need us to Photoshop their name on something, we'll do it. You know, whatever it takes. We can go back and forth with that and be very nimble and very quick about it. In terms of clients that we've worked with that have needed this type of service, it's been everybody from a nonprofit that was taking donations even. I mean, we've worked that way. I don't necessarily always recommend it, because sometimes the things people want to give you are not the things that you want. So you got to be a little careful with something like that. But in terms of going with you and helping you sell the building, or hosting workshops to sell the building, whatever would be helpful to you, we can assist. So, does that answer your question, Eddie?
It does.
Okay.
I'm curious how that
Thank
works.
you.
And other than just brochures, I like to see digital things.
Yeah, digital, absolutely.
Greg's
So
going
you
to
have
be
been
selling it.
involved in the presentation process in front of donors, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm stuck in notes here. I see you've got a question back there, Mr.
Well,
Ray.
I sound like a, I'm gonna ask it anyway. I'm looking at your systems and energy, and I wanted to ask, on your lighting system, with daylighting controls, we're having a good experience so far with solar tubes at our Stillmore Library in Mount Olive. And it's unbelievable what those solar tubes can do.
I know.
And I wanted to ask you, would that be something that you might be able to incorporate?
I got him in my house.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, you might want to touch on it too.
Yeah.
He's an electrical
It's-
engineer,
Yeah.
but we can talk about it, both of us.
Well, especially, and it really kind of depends on building design. Obviously, you know, Kristen had shown some of the buildings that have lots of exterior spaces to bring that light in, and then you also mentioned the solar tubes. Of course, you walk in the Sam or some Walmarts and stuff, and you see how much light they got. But yeah, we've done quite a few daylighting jobs.
It can reduce the amount of artificial light that he's got to put in the
Yeah,
building.
you can obviously only shut that lighting down in a lot of cases.
Well, the cost of energy for this building, if the building's here 100 years, it's gonna be there every year.
That's right.
So
That's
it's
right.
just one of the things that
Long-term.
was one of the, in the forefront when we were doing the art, and it's finished, by the way, almost, it's still in the
That's
library.
right.
But it was a really learning curve as to what green is these days.
I
you
know.
And how important energy efficiency is. So it's important to taxpayers too.
It sure is. I
But,
appreciate you.
know,
bringing
and
it
one
up.
important thing to look at is a lot of times you can put a clear story, you know, on a roof to bring daylighting in, but the only drawback to that is cost of a clear story.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't want to say, hey, we're bringing all this light in and let's do daylighting.
And then
You
you
know,
can't
the expense
control
of the
it.
Yeah, the expense of the building to do clear stories and stuff like that. So
We
we look at that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we took out of the Stillmore Library, and what with solar tubes.
Mhm.
And when you go visit, you can see an ant crawling on the floor. I mean, the lighting is unbelievable.
It's
Plus
fantastic.
the maintenance of the clear story. too.
Right, exactly.
That's right.
That's why it's so important where we decide to put that building originally. And if we are able to stretch the form out the right way and site it the right way, then we won't have to do so many acrobatic things to try to capture daylight. And it could be simple decision that could save you money over the life of the building.
Thank you for bringing that up. We have a daylight controller in our office, actually. So we have natural light coming in, and then, you know how clouds will roll by or get stormy or it'll get dark at night, whatever. We have a little, you engineered it, controller. It just looks like a little occupancy sensor, and basically it's just reading the amount of light that's coming in, and it's adjusting the dimmers on the lights all the time. Because what happens in an office environment, these folks working all day, their eyes can become strained if the lighting gets below a certain point. You could be working and you don't even realize it, and all of a sudden it's kind of a little dim, and you're kind of all way up in it. But what this technology allows is for the lighting to always be constantly adjusting, so there's no strain on the eyes, and there's nobody having to get up and adjust the lights. It's just automatic, and it's consistent across the entire dimmer spectrum, and every light bay is at a different level. So it's just always adjusting. And we don't even think about it. It's just happening. And so there's a constant amount of light, and we don't use a penny more energy than we need to be using. And they'll cut completely off when it's bright, so.
Let me ask a question. Can you go back one slide?
Sure.
On the right-hand side of it, where that staff entrance is, it was suggested to us that we might need to pull it over there to match that entrance coming out of Oberry. Is there any reason why you guys didn't look at that, or would you consider that?
Well, I think that's an excellent point, in that we would want to align our drives with the drives opposite, and certainly the main entrance we would. We weren't real sure about the extent of how far down on Smith. I'm sorry. Excellent point. We would want to align our drives with the drives across the street. We weren't real sure about how far we were supposed to extend our drives down the site, so we kind of clipped it off. But I think in the final analysis, in the more detailed design, we absolutely would look at the alternating driveways and try to hook up with those.
Well, I thought you might, but I didn't know why you had pulled it back.
We didn't know what this
That's kind of was the driving thing.
What is it?
Gone.
Gone?
Yeah.
Well, in that case, we'll just move that drive down there and we'll be okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
We just were
really
afraid
was
we
we
might be
saw
showing
that.
something on
Yeah.
like part that we're not supposed to touch.
Gone.
Okay, great. Yeah, and that would give better expansion capability, because then you'd have that drive one time, not have to move it. So that'd be great.
Bill, can I?
Yes, sir. Go right
I have
ahead.
one question on the HVAC system. Could you talk a little bit about what you would do in terms of minimizing the extreme changes in occupancy?
Yes, a lot of that's taken up by controls of your system, and just programming, knowing how to program the controls of your system. Not only that, just having a system that is flexible enough to go down to that low, of a load. It's just a lot of controls is what it boils down to. We did we've done several senior centers in Raleigh with Kristen, and kind of have that same sort of thing. You would have big meeting rooms, and sometimes, they're empty, or you just have a handful of people, or they pack them. But yet, obviously, zoning each space separately, not trying to share space, that's obviously key. Because if you've got shared spaces, well, this one might be low occupancy and this one's high. You just can't share spaces. That's the basic, and then you just get into the detailed work of controls.
So some of your design may be driven by that as well.
Absolutely.
Like your thing about splitting off the conference center part.
That's right.
from the other.
That's absolutely right. And then don't you use like CO2 sensors? So it's
That's
actually
right.
detecting the amount
Of people in the room.
that are breathing out in the room.
And a lot of what I'll bring up, this kind of brings up a good point. Just like the lighting controls, HVAC, a lot of interaction between architects and PM&E. I mean, a lot of times you don't think about it, but when you got a team that works well together, that knows what each is thinking or done in the past, it helps.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, George.
I did have one question, one comment primarily, and that is, to me, this is probably one of the most important slides. The stakeholder buy-in.
Yes.
I suppose the only question I have is, with your enthusiasm, are you going to be at these meetings?
I'm going to be at those meetings. Yes, sir. I'm going to be this Friday.
I think that's what you were asking, wasn't it?
I promise you, I will be at these meetings. I will be leading this project.
I don't know, we need somebody with more enthusiasm.
I hope you'll call my references. I mean, I really, call Commissioner Troxler. He knows I was there, so.
Do you know that guy?
Kent knows.
I think I've heard of him. Hopefully he's in Raleigh signing my paycheck.
Anything else? Any closing remarks?
Please hire us. We'd love to do this project. No, I mean, really, in all seriousness, we would be honored to do this project. We really would. It would mean the world to us. This team's committed. We've practiced and ideated and planned and thought and dreamed, and we'd so love to dream with you and work with you, and we'd just be honored to work on it, so, thanks.
We thank you so much for coming today. It's an excellent presentation, and it's so much energy and so much, I think, preparation was put in this presentation. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you.
I guess we'll be recessing for lunch, folks.